Imagine if you could easily find solutions to make your region or city smarter, greener, better connected, more social, and closer to citizens. The Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform can help you. Access knowledge about the latest policy trends. Discover expert-validated good practices from all over Europe. Find solutions in our peer review. Get tailored support from our expert team. We can connect you with the right people and organizations. Together, we will find ways to solve your region's or city's challenges. Start your policy learning journey today.
Okay, welcome everybody to the webinar today. So as you know, this is the Entrepreneurship Support Success Factors for an Incubation Program webinar with the sort of subtitle of what makes an incubation program great. So this webinar is organized by the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform. My name is Mart Veliste. I'm the moderator today, and I'm one of the thematic experts on the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform. And together with me is also Schmerber, who you can see on the screen as well, and he is the co-moderator today. The webinar today is recorded, as you have already been notified, and will last around 90 minutes as well. So just maybe a brief introduction of why we're tackling this topic in this webinar is because we see constantly in our community, and by community, I mean regional, national, and local policymakers that take part in the Interreg Europe program. They often indicate that the topic of entrepreneurship support is of their interest through these Make-A-Wish surveys that we launch every now and then. And of course, in the last programming period, we had many projects that also specifically worked on developing entrepreneurship support programs in their regions, and among them many were working also with incubation or acceleration services, and therefore it's good to build on this knowledge that's already within these projects and the people who were part of those, but also to sort of keep on building their knowledge as well by bringing in external speakers like we have today, and to sort of exchange our thoughts on the topic at hand. And in general, we always see when we talk about how to boost regional economies or how to boost innovation, then very quickly you always get into, well, we need to support the businesses who would then be leading the innovation. And if you have a question of how to do this, then often you need programs of entrepreneurship support, you need either incubators or something else. So one thing always leads to another, and then the question is, well, okay, you're telling me that I need to have an incubation program in my region, but how should it look like? And then things sometimes get more complicated or trickier. And so today with this webinar, we try to get some answers of how a program of entrepreneurship support could be set up and what have been some of the lessons learned by the speakers that we have with us. Today's agenda, I'm sure you've already are familiar with this somewhat as well, but we start today with a panel discussion. So we have 3 participants in the panel. We talk about these trends in the entrepreneurship support services. So our panelists are currently also welcome to turn their camera on so they could already see you. But we have Lecci, the CEO of European Business and Innovation Center Network. We're very happy to have Laura here with us because EBN is a well-known network that also certifies incubation services, and they have a long history in this field. Then we have Ines, Neves, a project manager of Startup Europe Regions Network, or CERN. They also work with regions and building regional entrepreneurial ecosystems, so very good to get their knowledge into this panel. And then we have Julien and Nicolas, head of international at Euratechnologies. So Euratechnologies is one of France's leading incubators. All the panelists will introduce themselves and what their organizations do a bit in more detail when we start the panel discussion itself. And then after the panel, we open the floor for audience questions. So you're welcome to ask questions. And after that, we go into 2 presentations where we highlight or showcase 2 incubation programs from the Interreg Europe community. So we have Andrii from Poland, who will talk about the INNOVA-INVEST program that they ran in Poland. And Andrii is also the project leader of the Start Easy Interreg Europe project. And then we have Gracia from Minerva program, who will talk about how they in Spain have been running this interesting incubation service for quite many years. And she's a stakeholder at the Speed Up program, Speed Up the project of Interreg Europe. So what will you hear today, or what can you expect to hear today? We hope to sort of find some answers to these questions on the table here. So what makes one incubation program or an entrepreneurship support program successful? What sort of methodologies should be considered? What other success factors might there be? What are the trends in the last few years in providing such support services? And of course, very importantly, if you have any questions that come up, then we hope to also answer those. So in order to submit your questions, please either use the chat function throughout the session, because then my co-moderator Luke will be able to take the questions from the chat and we'll ask them from the speakers. Or alternatively, you can also raise the virtual hand in Zoom, turning our Q&A moments. And then we can also give you word directly, and you're welcome to turn on your microphone and camera and ask the question verbally. So however you prefer. Yeah, in order to get answers to your questions, you need to somehow share them with us. And then hopefully we'll be able to answer them. In case in some parts of today, we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, then don't worry. We will get back to you after the webinar with the answers as well. And with this, I think I conclude introductory remarks. But before we jump into the actual panel, I would ask my colleague Lotte to share a poll with the attendees. And so we wanted with this poll to sort of understand a bit better who is with us here today as well. So how familiar you are with the topic of entrepreneurship support or incubation programs. So let's see who is in the audience and what is your background. Yep, and I think we now have the answers as well. So we see that there are more participants who have some experience but want to learn more, and some who consider them to be very experienced, and some who are new to the topic. And luckily, there's nobody who doesn't know why they're here today. So everybody has joined with a purpose. I see that in total we have today around 38 participants in this meeting at the moment. We had roughly 70 people registered. So just for you to know that we will also share the recording and the article, follow-up article after the session as well. But now I would jump into the panel discussion. So once again, welcome Laura, Ines, and Julien. Happy to have you here. The panel discussion, we had titled it that what are the current trends in the entrepreneurship support space. And maybe I would start, Laura, with you, that maybe you could briefly introduce what EBN does and what is your own background as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Mart. Thanks for the invitation. So maybe first, starting from EBN, describing a network is never super easy. Still, as Mart said, EBN stands for the European Business and Innovation Center Network, is a pan-European community of either quality certified business support organization, and maybe throughout the conversation I'll manage to tell you a little bit more about this certification of ours, but also other associate members. And their daily job is basically really to support entrepreneurs and innovative companies throughout their whole innovation journey, meaning really from the ideas, from the creation of a companies until it is now ready to be a scalable and successful, sustainability is really what we really much look for projects. Today, more or less, we have 165 members that are distributed in more than 30 countries. Although our core, let's say, presence is Europe, we are extending it more and more in Southeast Asia, Africa, North America, Latin America. So giving us really a big, really rich network, rich in terms of experience. And all in all, last year, our members have supported more than 36,000 innovative companies, just to give you a little bit the capacity there. EBN grants this famous label, quality label, the UBIC label, but also really our DNA, our core mission is really to connect our members, to give them access to best practice when it comes to incubation and innovation. Myself, I've been the CEO of EBN since July 2020, so the first year of the famous pandemic, not an easy time for the network. But I've been working in EBN for the last 10 years, actually, and I come more from really helping members to access to international collaborative projects. So that is in a nutshell.
Thank you, Laura. And then once again, very happy to have both you as a very experienced person in this field, but also your organization that in some ways has similar objectives of exchanging best practices, as we also do here in Interreg Europe and you do in EBN. So happy to have you here today with us. Also welcome Ines. Maybe you can also briefly introduce what Startup Europe Regions Network does regarding supporting European regions and their business ecosystems, and a few words of your own background as well, please.
Hi, Mart. Thanks for having me. Thank you for the invite. I would like to start by saying I am here on behalf of Chiara Francia, was supposed to be here. Unfortunately, she's sick, so she couldn't make it. And I am here to present CERT and to have a lively place in this panel discussion. So I am the Communications and Project Manager at CERN. And CERN, I would like to start by saying, is not an incubator or a network of startups. In fact, CERN is a network of regions dedicated to scaling up startup support. CERN is a non-profit association with a solid group of regions as founding members. And CERN core members are regions, but it's open to extended membership. So if relevant associations, universities, innovation agencies, all can be a part and be members if relevant for the association. Then the permanent secretariat is based in Brussels, where I am also located. And the main activities of CERN go from mapping and providing a better understanding of regional initiatives to supporting startups, highlight the best practices, provide recommendations, connect the relevant stakeholders, and facilitate learning from each other. So CERN operates in several thematic areas such as financial instruments, ICT and arts, innovation procurement, and regional ecosystems, and also workplace innovation. And hopefully we will bring some knowledge and highlights into these topics as well.
Yes, I'm sure you will, and very similar also in that sense to Interreg Europe, that we also connect the regions and the regional stakeholders and not incubators as such. But this leads me to our third panelist, Julien, who actually does represent an incubator, one of France's leading incubators, Euratechnologies. So please, Julien, a few words of introduction from your side as well.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for the invitation. So my name is Julien Nicolas. I joined Euratechnologies a few months ago. So Euratechnologies is a big incubator and accelerator that is based in Lille. We have actually four cities where we are implanted, all in the northern region of France. One of our business model is we take a very old industry building. Our main building, for example, was a old textile manufacturer that we restored as a business incubator. And so we do incubation, startup incubation, and startup acceleration. We take every year about 300 startups and project leaders. So it's a lot divided in 8 verticals. So we have fintech, retail, industry, agrotech, smart city, cybersecurity, and I'm missing, I guess, retail also. So yes, our main goal is really to help and support entrepreneurs from day one, from the idea to the first fundraising. And right now we are also planning to develop our activity abroad. That's why I'm also here. We've made a big fundraising to open accelerators in all over Europe, Africa, and Central Asia, to help these to create bridges for mature startups that want to develop abroad.
And I think your own personal background, you also had some.
Yes,
previously.
yes, definitely. I launched also accelerators and managed some in corporate innovation in my past.
Yeah. But the interesting thing, the connection between Inter-Europe and then Euratechnologies is that the headquarters of Inter-Europe is also in Lille. So nice to have some similarities with your organizations as well. But let's jump into the discussion then. And I'm just curious, based on the work you do when you work with the regions, or you work with the incubator stakeholders, or even the entrepreneurs themselves, what are the sort of the current trends that you see in terms of providing the support services to entrepreneurs, and maybe specifically in incubation? Do you see something is shifting in the past few years, or do you see some change happening or on the verge of coming about? And maybe we start from the back. So Julien, maybe you have some thoughts. What changes have you noticed, or trends?
Sure. Well, still, for us, an incubator should bring like four main things. It's really they should bring the pedagogy and the theory because there's a lot of first-time entrepreneurs that came to us and just don't really know what is a startup, or what is growth hacking, or like what is lean startup. So we have still a bit of this teaching thing to do. There's obviously the second part is the mentoring and bringing industry experts that will work with these entrepreneurs. There's the community aspect, which is very, very important for entrepreneurs, that when they learn from each other, that's, I guess, for us, one of the most important one. And actually COVID kind of changed a lot of things on this aspect. And the last one is bringing funds and financing for these entrepreneurs. So I would say that each of these four aspects got a bit challenged. I think that the theory part right now, a lot of people kind of already know what is a lean startup. I mean, in the broader sense, YouTube is helping a lot. A lot of articles and media is already talked and wrote a lot about it. So I would say that this aspect is a bit less for us the most important one. People are already coming with some knowledge. Mentoring is still very, very strong, and for that it's nothing has changed from day one, to be honest. From the community aspect, as I said, COVID changed a lot. So to be honest, we're really only right now rebuilding our community, redoing physical events, bringing people together is still hard with these online and offline way of working. It's very hard, like to bring back community and life in our buildings. So for us, it was a challenge for this year. It's still a challenge for us for next year. So definitely that's a big change, and we have also to adapt to make a more online events, etc. But still, physical interaction is always way more valuable and way more creative of innovation. And in financing, well, we see that the shift in the financing world and in the VC world is already we can feel it, and we are really definitely pushing our startups to manage better their fundings and to plan some longer runways when they are fundraising, to plan for a bit longer, for 6 months longer than they were expecting, and to really teach them how to deal with their costs. That's the main.
Many interesting things you noted, but I'm curious also to hear what Laura and Ines think. So, Laura, in your opinion, what are the current trends that you see in entrepreneurship support services?
Yeah, really interesting what Julien said, and some of the aspects that he mentioned, we can see it more, let's say, at macro level, really coming as a network there. EBN has been operating for almost 40 years now, and although of course was natural, to follow the economic crisis of the time, or the changes in the policy agenda at European or national level, in the last 2 years and a half, we really saw a shift, in the sense that there is a group of our members that is really focusing on financing the support to deep tech companies that really try to support breakthrough innovation in order really to try to bring a new wave of technology and hence then innovative companies. And on the other side, the pandemic first, and then the instability that is happening, the uncertainty that is happening now in some of our neighboring countries, the climate change. There are still cities and regions that are really struggling with the global warming. We have noticed a sort of wake-up call where really the incubators, the business support organizations somehow is feeling obliged, the moral obligation in a way to really support entrepreneurs that really want to make an impact there at social level. So to make, to help impact-driven entrepreneurs to make their project successful and to reinvest whatever profit they get to really in project that can make a greater impact. And so at level of business support organization, we're receiving more and more requests in terms of methodologies, tools that can really help them to support these type of entrepreneurs that usually don't go to a classic, let's say, mainstream incubator. There are incubators that are already, that have that purposes already, but somehow the population of entrepreneurs that want to make an impact is larger than 2 to 3 years ago. There is a lot more about awareness about responsible research and innovation, and now really technologies can try to solve some of the social / global challenges. So really from the basic, changing of the delivery of some of the service, basically, from the physical to virtual, we are really somehow witnessing this sort of change in the way of supporting the entrepreneurs, to change the narrative towards entrepreneurs that we usually say are underrepresented. And so the incubation managers are really seeking for tools and methodology that can help them to do that in a more efficient way. And then the third The third trend is really what we saw in network level was something that we didn't expect. Actually, we did have more this sense of belonging to a community. So if for the entrepreneurs, what Julien said, many of our business support organizations are experiencing basically the same. For us, we had some sort of the contrary, and now there is the idea of participating in doing activities all together, and now moving from the virtual to really this idea of trying to meet and exchange in person. There is really this willingness to come together again. So that's probably the main shift that we saw, since we are operating in the field.
Thank you, Laura, and I can sort of concur that we've also seen in Interreg Europe sort of a higher interest in topics related to impact and social entrepreneurship, and then what can regions do here and how they should be involved. So it's very interesting to see that also on the incubator level, this trend has sort of been there. But Ines, what trends has CERN seen in the past years in terms of building entrepreneurship in regions, and what type of support services are needed?
So a little bit in sync with what Julien and Laura already mentioned, but the two main trends that I would like to bring up to this discussion are basically digital nomads and also collaboration between artists and entrepreneurs. This is two trends that CERN has seen a lot, and this is something that I would like to dive in a bit more. So starting with the digital nomads, this is a trend that we have seen growing for several years now. But this, because of COVID, suffered exponential growth and after the pandemic. And this is something that incubators and entrepreneurs and companies associations need to keep an eye for, because a lot of countries are trying to understand and study this trend as a way to also combat the population trends and also help to stop brain drain and bring skilled immigration to their countries. So this is a source of work that is very important and that should be studied and implemented as well. According to the Nomad-List website, which is one of the best known sites for assessing destinations of the digital nomads, the top 6 currently are Lisbon in Portugal, then Bangkok in Thailand, then Bali, Indonesia, then Chiang Mai, Thailand as well, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and then Madeira, Portugal. So Portugal has 2 as well as Thailand has 2 cities that are there, and most likely tourist destinations. Normally digital nomads choose these destinations also based a bit on the same factors as tourists do. So it's related to the cost of living. Besides that, the internet speed is an important decision topic for digital nomads. The funds, the activities that are provided in these cities, safety and weather also is a big factor when choosing your city of choice. Besides this, having low requirements for visa is also a big help for digital nomads to choose the city and your city to stay at. And this is something that countries should be taking into consideration, because it's skilled immigration coming to their countries. So, and these are workers that are normally also very alone and need integration in their cities, need events, need exchange of experience between them, need spaces to work on, and not only. Apart from that, the other trend that I would like to dive into a bit is the collaboration between artists and entrepreneurs. This is something that CERN has already some experience in, because it has a project that is almost coming to an end now. It's a 5-year interregional project called Region Arts that seeks to improve the implementation of structural funds and other funds for the promotion of collaboration between artists and ICT companies. So this project is already coming to an end, but another new factor that it's very interesting that came to us right now is the new kick from the EIT, so Culture and Creativity kick, that was launched in June 2022, and this is coming to be operational in this coming year, so almost. And this shows already a lot of interest in this sector, and it's something that definitely Europe is trying to invest in. And yeah, so this is 2 trends that CERN has seen and is trying to focus on.
Thank you. And I think we got a lot of interesting different trends about community building, about how YouTube might be even shifting away, that how knowledgeable are the entries to the programs, and all the other sort of details as well. But I would now want to dive deeper into how to make a good or great incubator program. And maybe, Laura, this is primarily a question to you, because you certify also incubation services. So maybe what makes an incubator program great, as this was also like a subtitle of our discussion today.
Thank you very much. It's a challenge for incubator program, really, to face the need, to make sure to answer to real needs that comes from their community. Luckily, in our community, we can count organizations that somehow do respond in an agile way, and I think that this would be probably one of the ingredients to make an incubation program successful. Just to make a quick link to see how also between probably the three panelists we do work in synergies. What Ines just mentioned, the Digital Nomads Madeira Island is actually implemented by our big startup Madeira. This is something that before COVID they would never think to do. Madeira has always been really far away. Also for them, traveling, to our events is always challenging because of the time that they have to invest there with COVID and the right policies there, the right tools also that were promoted at the regional level with the regional authority. They jump on them, and now they are leading on one of the trends that, as Ines was mentioning, that we see in the community as well. So agility is definitely one of the first ingredients that I would say. Then, in terms of the other elements that, an example, we look at TBN level with our UBIC certification is really the impact at regional level. And we speak about economic, social, and sustainable impact, meaning it's great to create successful companies that then will grow super fast and probably away from the area where they've been supported, but it's even better to really focus on successful projects that can remain where they are, still open globally, but they help the region where they are located to grow, to create jobs there, and so somehow multiply the good effects, not only for their own business, but also to the community where they are located. We look at the quality of the services that an incubator does deliver. In terms of the type of projects that they support, what type of connection and example they have at university level to start really to create an entrepreneurial mindset already, with the younger generation. How ready they are to support companies to access a variety of financial resources. That is of utmost importance as well in terms of ensuring a certain sustainability. And last but not least, being able to give to provide to the companies the right contacts of trustful partner, and hence then being able to help companies to scale up, and they usually can become faster if they are part of a network. Can be a European network, but can be very well a national or regional network, of trustful and like-minded organization that you can contact in case a company needs help, or wants to discover a new market, wants to test a new idea. Somehow we cut there lots of time in testing, understanding to whom you can refer to, and so time saved usually is also translated in money saving for the entrepreneurs. So it's probably making sure that the incubation program can answer to the different challenges of what I mentioned before, the innovation journey of the companies. That's probably what would make the incubation program work best.
Thank you, Laura. Does Julien, this reflect Euratechnologies' experience? I mean, on your website, you also say that, or we can read that you have a high survival rate of the startups that go through your programs. So is it also thanks to the agility of your program or the quality of your services, or linking it with the universities, as Laura was mentioning, or is it something else?
Well, it's definitely, as Laura said, definitely it's the agility, and we are changing our programs or on the content of our programs. I would say every batch, or so every 6 months we adapt a bit, because definitely the demands of the startups or the needs of the startups are always different. So yes, the role of incubators is for sure to be, it's this balance between these very hands-on, one-to-one work with the startups, and managing batches of like 10 or hundreds of startups. So for us, it's really this kind of a balance. And the second point for us is definitely the fact that we help and we offer programs for all maturity startups. So we have really programs for kids, where we teach kids how to code from really right now. Next year we're really opening programs dedicated to fundraising. So it's more about acceleration, and about soft landing abroad. So we have the full package to follow an entrepreneur from 5 years old to its Serie A. So I think that's also a very important point when building a structure like this, is to have, even if it's not yourself, but having partners and having the opportunity and to help navigate your startups towards the good next step, to really follow them on the next steps.
From here, I would transition sort of to the last question before we take an audience questions, because in our audience we have people representing mostly public authorities, and we saw in the poll initially that some are very new to this topic. Some had some experience, but we're looking for further advice. So I'm just wondering whether you have some key recommendations that you would want to share with the audience, if they're considering of setting up a business support program in their region, whether it's an incubator or something else is maybe even less important. But yeah, if you have any key recommendations on what to consider or what to keep in mind when you're launching such programs, or maybe something that has worked really well for you, or something where that did not work well at all, and you would caution them to avoid the same mistakes. So Ines, as you're working with European regions as well, what have you heard, or what's CERN's advice of launching a business support program? And I think you're unmuted. Yeah.
Yes, sorry, it took me a bit. Yes, so I think I would not be the most adequate person to answer that question. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, as I said, I am here to replace Chiara, which has a lot more expertise in this subject. Although I think you need to research, you need to find a good base of partners. I think finding the best partners to help support your idea is one of the main tasks that you need. I think incubators or associations like CERN are a great way, if you do not have the contacts yourself, to help you find the partners that you need. And yeah, as I said, I'm sorry, I'm not the best person to answer this question. I will let Julien and Laura also give their input on this. Thank you, Mart.
Yeah, thank you, Ines. Any key advice, Laura, from you?
Yeah, actually, Ines mentioned one of probably of the top 3 that I could think of: partnership. don't do that by yourself. You can create way more impact, make a greater impact just working really with the right partner. And again, as Ines said, there are already networks that can help you there to find the right partner, a regional, national, or pan-European or global scale. The second one that I would feel to say really very straightforward, do not reinvent the wheel. Do your due diligence, see what it's there and see what it is needed. What your entrepreneurship community of entrepreneurs is really looking for. Link it with maybe your smart specialization strategies. See if maybe a sectorial program is, a vertical program is what is missing in your region, and trying to enhance that sector if you think is relevant, and diversifying your source of income. I mean, public funding is great, is helpful. All of us somehow let's be honest, is receiving that support, but in order also to enrich the program itself, so not only in terms of longer term sustainability, diversifying there where you can get the next round of investment for the incubation program. That would be my 3 top.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And I think especially you brought in the important component of looking at the needs in your location or on the ground, because often we also talk about replicating best practices, transferring good experiences, but you always need to sort of look also, does that actually work in your context? Maybe the needs in your region are different. So thank you for that. And maybe Julien, then from your background, having run accelerator programs and now in Euratechnologies as well, maybe you have some advice as well on what to sort of keep in mind.
To be honest, I had exactly the 3 points of Laura. That is very funny.
Excellent.
But definitely, yes, it's very specialization, as we were doing like for the verticals. It's very, it helps a bit more to understand what we do and to bring to sell a bit these services to mentors, to experts, to corporates. When you have a vertical in retail, especially like for us, Lille is kind of the capital of French retail, so that was very relevant for us to be here. Business model for sure, 100%. Be strong on the business model and think of like, yes, we are a semi-public company, so we have both financing, and obviously, yes, this is something very important for us to be on the long term, to have a long-term view on that. And partnerships, yes, again, don't do anything by yourself. We are launching the international expansion through partnerships. So we are looking for partners all over the world for incubators or accelerators. And definitely it makes you like spare a lot of time and resources. So yes.
Thank you, Julien. And with this, I would actually invite my co-moderator, Luc, to join us as well, to see if we have some questions from the audience. We don't have time for many, but we have 2 to 3 minutes to take maybe 1 or 2 questions. So Luc, do we have something that you would like to?
Yes, we have questions actually from the audience, Mart. And there is one which relates directly to your previous questions about the success rate. You mentioned the survival rate, and the question is, well, how is survival measured actually? And the second part of the question is, are there other measures used to assess success of incubator programs? I'm sure there are, but maybe our speakers could tell a bit about that.
I can answer that. Survival rate is like So we have two main KPIs. It's the creation rate, is like how many from 100 person that enters our incubation without a company actually go and open a company after our programs. Then we have how much of our companies and startups that we support from incubation, acceleration, extra, survive after 5 years. And this is just we are like really communicating with all our alumni to understand that number.
And if I can complement that, we do more or less the same at network level. So we ask our members to monitor the survival rate of a company first 3 years after they leave the incubators and 5 years after. And somehow we see where the average stands from our community, an example, against the European average. In terms of other indicator, we really try to break down the type of services that that our members do deliver, depending on if potential entrepreneurs. So again, the different stage from ideation, pre-incubation, incubation, and scale-up phase. Access to finance is a pretty good incubator as well. How much our members have helped to raise to their companies, and also what is this source of funding? Is from venture capital, is from a business angel, is from public funds, and then probably the last one that I would mention, although we have it's quite a complex certification process that we have, is the number of jobs created on average per year. That's probably our 4 main.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you also, Luke. I suggest we sort of conclude the panel here, and then we take our keynote presentations, and then we still have some time to maybe bring in the other questions during the discussion in the end of our webinar today. So for now, I thank you, Ines, Laura, and Julien for your insights. It was a great discussion, and I would invite Andrii to join us on stage as well to share us a concrete example of a sort of pre-incubation program that was run in Poland with the funding from an operational program. So Andrii, the floor is yours to share your screen and tell us about the experience from Poland.
Yeah, thank you, Mart, and thank you very much for previous panelists. It was quite interesting discussion, and also a bit of learning for us as for Lublin Science Technology Park, because okay, so now let me just start with my presentation, and then I will talk a bit more. Okay. I hope you can see the screen. Yes.
Yep.
Great. So what about Lublin Science and Technology Park? We are operating since 2005, and the term of incubation is we are quite knowledgeable of this term, because since 2014 we are operating the standalone incubation incubator, not the incubation program, but the incubator. But besides of that, we also do a lot of projects and programs leveraging the talent attraction for our region in terms of early stage ideas and startups. So one of them was INNOVA-INVEST, a pre-incubation program, and today I will tell you a bit more about how we managed to create to fulfill a gap which was sorry has been seen in early 2010s. Just a few words about our region. We're located in the eastern part of Poland, but also of the Europe, the so-called gate to the east. And one of the most interesting number here is You can see it on the bottom of the screen. So about 1/4 of our companies are self-defined as innovative ones, which is quite good for us, quite a good indicator, plus higher than 3.1% higher than the national average, but still we cannot call us as a leading innovative region, because there are many other measures which we are not so good at. For example, the innovation expenditures in our region are quite low. So this is still a challenge in terms of our region. But the road to success was quite long, and I think the most important part of this road to success was the participation of EU funds and the public policy which was made from the top to the bottom. I mean, the EU funds in terms of Horizon 2020, for example, but also our regional funds. And throughout 1 decade, Lublin region became one of the top ecosystem in Poland in terms of, for example, in terms of startup density. You can see here that there is a indicator of about 5,000 inhabitants per one startup, which is quite good indicator in our case in Poland. And the question is, why was it so? So as I mentioned before, I think the big part of the play was done by the EU funds. I mean, we in Eastern Poland had a dedicated EU funds program for the macro region, which put a very big attention to innovative development of our region. We have also, I think, this connection of the capital, I mean, of EU funds, but also capital, was very efficient in terms of connecting with the human capital. So in terms of the region, Lublin region, not the macro region, but Lublin region, we are so-called academic center of the Eastern Poland. We have also very good base of international students, which is in a way very important to develop in terms of development of startup ecosystem, but also vast majority of those R&D investments are performed by universities. On the one way, it's very good. It proves that our academic and science environment is quite strong, but still the SME sector is lacking the potential of our R&D investments. So INNOVA-INVEST was quite a solution to this problem. I mean, the untapped potential of our human capital, but also technology transfer. A lot of R&D was done on universities, but in terms of commercialization, it was not the case, and that is why this kind of program, which was co-funded by the operational program back in 2007-2013, was a solution to this problem. But also, I think one of those problems is an issues were also a funding gap. So I'm not sure how does it this problem looks like in other very stronger regions in Europe, but in terms of emerging and moderate economies, I think this is still a problem. I mean, this funding gap in terms of those early stage ventures. And INNOVA-INVEST as a solution was a initiative to support aspiring entrepreneurs and especially academic circles to boost their innovation and practical potential on the SME market through business consulting, advisory, and this kind of pre-incubation program with capital co-investments. It was It was built on upon two parts. The first component was the pre-incubation support, which is quite a standard measure. I mean, built of a lot of workshops and advisory to help those startups increase their knowledge, skills, and prepare them to get the equity funding. But also the second part was this very specialized, I mean, not specialized, but not so common part of the pre-incubation programs on the early stages, which was a capital investment program with co-investments. And why so? Why I say this is now not so common? Because back in 2010s, these were the years where when the VC market and early stage venture capital market was barely lacking. That is why the public policy focus was put on to test whether the capital investments, equity investments, were a good solution to boost the attract talent and boost the innovation potential of the region. In terms of sectors, because also our previous panelists said that this is quite an important part of the programs. We had also a sector focus. In this case, this was medicine, biotechnology, energy, and alternatives, chemicals, but also other industries. And the selection of these sectors was built upon the smart specializations of our region. Diving deeper into those two components. The first one, as I said before, was pre-incubation. To make it happen, we had a scouting, a selection process to find the most promising ideas on the market, and because of our potential in academia circles, the program was focused on this market, I mean, on universities and but also scientists, to help them get the most of their innovative ideas built in the university premises. The program was built on 4 batches, 10 companies per batch. So before the selection, I mean, before the pre-incubation, the selection was done, and total about, I mean, about 300 ideas were selected to the selection process, and of them there was the success rate of 10% of all of the ideas submitted to get pre-incubated. So after the selection and idea evaluation, there was a program put in place to help those startups validate, build their business model, validate their ideas on the market with customers, but also understand how to market them. So this was a one-stop shop, in a way, one-stop shop program for those startups to understand how to go to the market. But also there was a part of this program dedicated to very formal matters like business registration, etc. And after the pre-incubation program was for a total of 40 companies, there was a process put in place to assess the feasibility of those ideas after 3 months of pre-incubation, and the selection criteria were built on the assessment of coachability of those startups and understanding how economically and financially those ideas are feasible, to choose the most promising ones of them and make an equity investment. The investment tickets were amounted to almost 100k euro, which was quite a good amount back then in 2015. One of the most important one of the most important conditions for those startups to get the equity investment were 2 months. I mean, 3 months. First, about not more, not less than 50% of the co-owner investment were had to be done in cash or non-tangible. So non-tangible assets were like know-hows, IP rights were also available to be put into the company, but also a minimum of 10% of those amount to make this risk investment more feasible had to be covered by the co-owner. I mean the incubated company, which had been through the program. And in terms of economic and financial feasibility, a positive MVP should be had to be assessed in order to get the positive decision about the equity investment. And here, how we have had built the portfolio. A total of 20 companies got the funding. And to make the monitoring of those portfolio companies in place, there was designed a process to supervise those companies. But I think this is not the key part of this this presentation discussion. Generally, it was built due to the formal matters required by the program. And an interesting slide here are resources. So the vast majority of the costs of this program was equity funding, 90%, and the the rest percents were allocated to administration and external costs, like managing the program and marketing and our staff costs. And what was interesting is that in terms of our program equity investment amounting to 2.5 million euros, they were accompanied by about 3 million euros attracted from external individual and institutional co-investors. But don't think everything was in cash. Of course, it's quite a huge amount of cash, and that is why sometimes, I mean, in very often cases, this equity co-investment was put into the company in terms of IP rights, for example, and other non-tangibles. So this was also a helping hand for those co-investors to participate in the company. In terms of the results, the program has managed to create 20, as I said before, 20 companies. And what is good here is we had managed to create a total of 51 new jobs within those companies. But still, we haven't monitored this indicator after the creation, which was at that times not a requirement for our program. But of course, this was the very starting point in our venture capital market. And analyzing this, the impact of this program it was quite huge back then, because some national media attention was also attracted to our program. For example, you can see one of the leading business portal in Poland, which also has written an article about one of our portfolio companies in biotech industry. We had also have one Warsaw Stock Exchange connection. One of the companies mother companies is listed there in terms of our portfolio companies. And you can see also this corporate Grupa Azoty. This is a company selling and producing fertilizers, and it also we had also attracted their interest into our program. And one of the biggest question is whether this program works. So I think we had managed to make some lessons from this program, because not everything is very 100% ideal. So the first lesson we had we did here is that the average age of startup founders is increasing now, and this is also seen in different researches and also VC talks. I mean, the more and more important part of the equity VC investment. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. The one of the most important part here is the human capital in companies, and recently Google and Atomico has prepared a very quite interesting research, which was summarizing this topic, and the most as they also proved that the very big risk of equity investments in startups are their founders. So we should also need to see whether these founders have some initial knowledge about how to run a business, whether they're serial entrepreneurs, etc. But also we see that this kind of pre-incubation program improves the business idea appraisal. So it was in a way much easier for us to understand what was the potential of those startups, because as you see the person for the first time, you cannot understand well based on the numbers, just on the numbers, how successful this company will be, and you need just also to see how they interact with you, how they are learning, their coachability in a way, and this showed us that in order to invest in companies, we should also put some attention to learning them, to let them learning with us. And the post-program support, which was I think lacking in a way in our case, is also very needed. And in 2021, I participated in another event also organized by my policy learning platform, which was about how to build post-program support for companies after the program has come to the end. And I think this is a very important part, to keep in touch with those startups, to let them grow further, develop, and keep networking, because this is a very important part. But for us, one of the important lessons were that startups are meaning risk. So we should not expect all of them to succeed, and sometimes we should not compare us to as public program funding, equity funding, to very professional, seasoned investment measures, because this is not, I think, the role of public funding. It's about something else. So as I said at the beginning, there was a gap in early stage investments in our region, and this is what the role of the public funding is about. Okay, and this is the last slide. Thank you very much for the attention, and hope there will be some questions to this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrii, and much appreciated your presentation, because I think it's a good example of how indeed the public sector got involved to sort of fill a gap in the local business ecosystem. And definitely these co-investments with the private sector sort of links back also to the partnerships and public-private collaboration that was mentioned during the panel as well, even if it's about non-tangibles, but this always is important. I would again ask Luke, our co-moderator, to join, and maybe we have some question to Andrii as well. I think we have time for one question.
Yes, thank you, Mart. Maybe one quick question while people are typing in the chat. about this pre-incubation program. How long is it, Andrii? And maybe a follow-up question. You mentioned about the co-funding by the operational program, did 2013 and 7 to 13, and was there a follow-up? So it's two-part question.
Yeah, so first question, a very short one, is the pre-incubation was lasting for 3 months for one batch. So this is very short in our case, a very short program. And in terms of the second question about the follow-up, yes, indeed, there was a follow-up. And it is being the follow-up of this program, but not in this, in this form, because after the program has came to the end, the development which was supervising this kind of programs for ERDF decided to put more attention to the professional investment funds to let them build their capital portfolio, and knowing that they are more professional in terms of making investment decisions, they created a Bridge Alpha program and created a lot of, maybe few hundreds of venture capital funds, which was a very big increase in terms of the VC market, early stage market in Poland. But rather now there are no programs, support programs for startups which are offering the twofold support. The incubation program and at the same time equity investments. Rather, these equity investments are given to the professional investment funds.
Okay. Yeah. Mart, do we have time for a quick follow-up question?
If you have a quick follow-up, please.
Yeah, about the investments, because you mentioned you were also investing. How are you dealing with exits? Did you have exits, or what happens with that?
Yeah, we had, and we are obliged to exit up to 8 years after the investment was made. And for now, we had already 8 investments. Not all of them were successful, but this is the question: what is successful? In our terms, just one company has generated positive return on investment. Other ones were, from the middle. Half of the amount was returned, but also maybe just 10%. But this is not the case. This is a very important case for professional funds. In terms of this kind of public funds, it was very boosting part of for our ecosystem, innovation ecosystem. Yeah. After that kind of program, like INNOVA-INVEST, but also other incubation programs, there were created a lot of startups, maybe hundreds, up to, maybe in our region, up to 1,000. And this movement attracted a lot of attention of investment funds to our region, and I think this was kind of successful factor, success rate in our case. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Andrii.
Thank you, Luke, and thank you, Andrii, for the presentation. And I would now invite also the director of the Minerva program, Gracia, to share how you've been running your program in Spain. So please turn on your camera, and then you should be able to share your screen as well.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Can you see me? Yes, right.
Yes, we can see you.
Can you see the presentation?
You still need to go to the presenting mode, I guess.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay.
And you cannot see the right one, right? Or I have to change?
Now I see the first slide.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so hello to everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I'm here to talk about Minerva. that was the occasion. I'm gonna tell you very brief who I am. I'm a telecom engineer. I am specialized in business environment and development. I did my MBA in Beijing and Belgium. And well, I've had the opportunity to travel and live and study and work in different companies and institutions over the world. So that was very, very useful for me, and to get this insight from different people. And since 2014, I'm the director of the Minerva program. The agenda I have today, it's very, I'm gonna do it, I think, in 10-12 minutes. I'm gonna tell you what Minerva is, Minerva program as an acceleration, startup accelerator. And then I'm gonna share with you 12 tips for startup accelerator. They asked me a 12-minute presentation, so I thought the way to share my knowledge, it's about like 12 quick tips about what we've learned, and I think what it can be useful for someone else. And then some quick reflection and thoughts about our latest trends. So Minerva program, what we are a technology-based business accelerator, and we are backed by the Andalusian regional government, which is government, public sector, and Vodafone Spain. Our goal is to promote ICT entrepreneurship and help companies consolidate their business in the Andalusian region, because we work with the regional government. The region is Andalusia, which is in the south of Spain, and our goal is to help companies within the region. Which companies we select? We have companies from all the sectors, but they need to have technology as a basis of their business model. As I explained, we are a public-private partnership between the regional government and Vodafone. There is no cost for the entrepreneur. Neither we do not take any equity of the accelerated companies. We started in 2012, 10 years ago. The goal has always been the same, but we changed the way we work with companies because the companies are already changing every day, every year. Since we started, we have selected more than 200, and we have a business success rate over 80%. We are very proud to be the best accelerator in Andalusia since 2016. We've been the last 6 years, every year, the best accelerator in Andalusia. Some numbers, some very quick numbers. We've been here for the last decade, for 10 years. We have launched 9 calls. We had more than 1,500 applications, more than 200 startups selected, more than 650 jobs supported. More than 50% of our startups get private investment. And normally every year we invest more than 3,600 hours of advice and training to the selected startup. And the KPI, the number we like it the most, is that 95% of the Minerva companies recommend Minerva to every entrepreneur. So that KPI, we think that is the best, that we are really useful for entrepreneurs. So as I was saying at the beginning, I have 12 tips for the 12-minute presentation that I think can be useful for you to learn, to listen, and to think about. I'm going through the 12 of them. The first one, we adapt our services to entrepreneurial needs. In each call, we change with each entrepreneur, we adapt. That is something very important. I think it has already been said before in the panel before, and I think it's something that we have to be very, very present. Our celebration goes over 360 degrees. It means that it's not, we don't work only about communication, about marketing, about sales. No, we do an overall celebration. We have four different blocks, which is business development, legal, sales, and marketing and communication. And within the company has to learn, has to work, and has to improve in every of them. Third one, good, no, not good, best mentoring. It's very, very important to choose best panel of mentors that meets the needs of the entrepreneurs that you have in your acceleration program. And this is something like a puzzle that you have different pieces and you have to match them. So you have a mentor that maybe can be very good. It can be perfect for someone, but it's not the best option for another one. So you have to be this match, and this particular match is different every year with every entrepreneur. For you have to ensure consistency and storyline of the entire acceleration itinerary. We have an acceleration program that normally takes 1 year. So we need to have all these blocks that fit, that match with each other. And it's important that we don't make mad. We get mad the entrepreneur. We have to be consistent of all the workshops, the mentorship, with all the things that we can offer our entrepreneur. They can be consistent. We also think that methodology, it's very, very important. We have to be methodical. We have to apply method, and we have to be very, very careful with it. We use this methodology that we already know, which is Lean Startup, but we think that there is a very big difference between Lean Startup as something that you can talk about, and Lean Startup as a methodology that you have to do it with method and with right. 6.1, in our accelerator, nothing is given for free. We do not take any equity from the companies, and there's no cost, but the entrepreneurs have to work hard to achieve the workshops, to get the mentorship, to get the services, to get the money that we can offer them. And you have to measure that, and you have to be very transparent to the entrepreneur and to everyone of what you are measuring. But I think that's very important. I'm going with the 7th one. We think that the entrepreneurs are the sound, so we have to work for them. They are our clients. We have to be focused on helping them and nothing else. But sometimes when we are in the ecosystem, there are so many events, so many shows, so many things that maybe are not so useful for entrepreneurs. So we have to be empathic with the entrepreneurs, and we have to think that we need to work for them. 8th one, this is something that we every year we tell our entrepreneurs, we are not the CEO of their companies. We can be many things. We can be coaches, we can be mentors, we can be assessors, we can be auditors, we can be friends, but we are here to help. But the CEOs are them, and they have to take the responsibility to do that, and they have to learn to be a good CEO. 9.1, we think that we need to help startup to do many things, but one very important thing is to help them building the best startup team, because maybe many times they do not know what they lack. And for example, in Minerva, we offer them some economic aid to hire people, and we need to show them or try to show them what they are lacking and what they need to, what do they need to have. 10th one, something that we also work in Minerva, we think it's very important to build the alumni community. We do have it in Minerva. It's called Minerva Forum. It's very powerful. They help each other, and I think that's very useful. Minerva, we have this follow-up with them. We continue helping them after the acceleration, but also they have the community to help each other. The 11th one, I think it is also very, very important. The accelerator management team is essential. They have to be committed, they have to be capable, they have to be complementary, talented. I think they have to be as any other startup team. They have to do so many things, and they have to be very, very committed to the work they do. The last one, we do have to think, and we shouldn't forget, like as an accelerator startup, we have to be lean. We have to learn each time. Julien was saying that before. It's so important that we have to learn, we have to change, we have to measure, we have to build again. And that's a circle. And we have to do it every time, every year, every batch, every time we work with entrepreneurs. We don't have to be frightened of doing new things. I think that's very good to try new things and to measure if they work or if they don't work, learn from that and rebuild again. And that's the circle that we should do every accelerator startup. Well, I think I'm running out of time, so I'm going very quickly through the last slide. Some latest trends that I think are coming or are already here in the accelerator programs. There are more and more online programs, although we think, and I think the optimal model is hybrid, it's not only online. The entrepreneur is changing. They are older, they are different. So I think there is a trend to be more flexible in this acceleration itinerary. They are not so young, the entrepreneurs. They don't have the same needs they did have some years ago. So we have to be able to offer flexible acceleration itinerary. And probably more specialized startups accelerator, talking about vertical, some technologies, particular technologies. That is something that it's already happening, and I think it will be more and more in the near future. Well, this is the Minerva team. We are like a startup team, and I thought it was important also to show you my colleagues. And this is the whole presentation I have for today, with my last quote, which is something that I like to repeat very often: knowledge without action is meaningless, which for me means that we really have to do things, we really have to try things, we have to do things differently if we want to improve them. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. And I really appreciate this very clear 12 tips or lessons learned, and also linking back to the panel about the trends that you see as well. Luke, questions? Perhaps?
Yeah, maybe one or two quick questions. Gracia, try to answer fast if it's possible. Maybe a question about the alumni community. How are you dealing with this? What are you doing to build that and to maintain this community life?
We are very close to them. Every time we finish an acceleration program, we take all of the entrepreneurs, all the companies, and we pass them to the Minerva Forum, our alumni community. We have communication with them every week. We are very close to them. We have this WhatsApp group, we have this email, we have this newsletter, but also there is one-to-one very close conversation, because we need to know their needs to be able to help them.
Okay, and maybe also a question. One of your good friends, you mentioned the optimal model is hybrid. How are you currently dealing with what is the online part? What is the what are you applying of this?
Well, before the pandemic, before the COVID, Minerva, we were already hybrid. we had this workshop and mentorship and everything, every workshop, every mentorship, we had it face to face. But then our entrepreneurs are not obliged to be in a particular place in our co-working space. We do have a co-working space, but it's not mandatory. And what we learned from pandemic, during pandemic, we went to the online world, like almost everyone. And what we learned is that it's not from my point of view, it's not the optimal way of working. We think that we should be hybrid. We learned to be, from the COVID, we learned to do more things efficiently online. So right now we have, for example, we have a 5 session of mentorship. The first one is face-to-face. The following 4 are online or can be online. So it's something we have to find the middle point. It's not that easy. We are learning every time, but we think that the online, 100% online, is not the best option.
Okay, thank you, Mart.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Yes, and I think this reflects also our experience here locally in Estonia. When we run accelerator programs, we see also you need to have some physical component, whether it's when you meet the mentors or when you have the demo day in the end or something. So, but it was very interesting to hear from Minerva's experience. Thank you once again, Gracia. I will now move to this concluding words, and I actually started by our concluding poll to the attendees, because now we've been listening to different sort of viewpoints or different remarks from our panelists and from our speakers. And we have a poll question about, in your opinion, whether based on what you learned today or in your own previous experience, what is sort of the key success factor? So if you had to only choose one, what is the key to success in an incubation program? Is it the selection process? Is it the agenda of the program, the mentors and funding instrument directly linked to the program, the community building, or something else that then you're welcome to write it into the chat. See, some answers are nicely coming in. Give you a few more seconds to answer. While you're answering, I'll also just let you know that once we close the meeting, the feedback survey will pop up. So we're always keen in Interreg Europe policy learning platform to improve our events like this webinar here today. So please do take that 1 minute also to fill in the feedback survey so we can improve these events. But I think we can now look at the results as well. And seems like a very diverse picture. So different things have stood out either based on today's session or previous experience. So the likely answer is that you need to do a bit of everything and then put special care into some of these components. As a concluding remark, let me just also share my last slide once more. So because in our audience, we might have people who know Interreg Europe very well from the previous programming period, but there might also be newcomers. So just so you know that the policy learning platform is part of the Interreg Europe program, but we function somewhat separately. And what we do is we try to really, as we did today, learn from each other, help European policymakers to connect with other policymakers in other regions, connect to people, connect to knowledge, and also get expert support. And we won't go into detail here today, but basically, if you have any questions about how to support businesses or how to set up public funded incubation programs or something completely entirely different, but it's still a policy related question, feel free to reach out to us through our help desk service. So just send us an email through our website and we will get back to you some of the knowledge we have in our network, because we have a network of a lot of different good practices and cases already shared across Europe, and different reports and previous events such as this. And of course, also the network of people. So we are keen to sort of connect these elements and help you give answers. As I think Laura earlier said, do not invent the wheel when it comes to incubation programs, but also when it comes to policymaking in general. So we are here to be sort of like a repository of information on various aspects. And especially if you have a very specific question, then we also have free services to tackle them with, which we call the peer review and matchmaking services. And you can also find more about these on our website on the Get Policy Advice sub-page. And events, the year is coming to an end. So there's still one more event in December. If you're interested also in mobility, then you have a chance tomorrow to attend a session on that. But otherwise, our colleagues are already doing also some events in January about the green transition and the circular economy. So you're very welcome to attend those events as well. And with this, I conclude here today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for asking the questions. Once again, a great big thank you to our panelists, Laura, Ines, and Julien. Thank you for our speakers, Andrii and Gracia. It was great to have this interaction on incubation programs and entrepreneurship support in general. And I wish everybody here happy holidays, get a good rest, and all the best to the next year as well. So thank you and a good evening.